So basically what I have with me here is a longsword. Longsword for me is generally a sword which is held in two hands. So it doesn't matter whether the grip is short or long, it doesn't really matter. You have a pommel, a crossguard, a grip, a blade. Usually within fencing we divide that into two halves, but different authors divide it into different divisions. So we'll have a strong half, which is the half from the middle to the hilt, and then from the middle down to the point is the weakest part. And we're just really looking at geometry and leverage. That you get this big thing in historical European martial arts, as I do, where you're not allowed to carry swords on your shoulder because that's really, really frowned upon and no one would ever do it. Except there's actually critique in manuals saying that you shouldn't do it, which implies that people do it. So carrying the sword in your hand is a very, very good thing. And you see this a lot, people holding the sword on their shoulder and just walking around with it without a scabbard on necessarily, so it's ready to use. I have issues with this particular fight because there's a lot of reverse grip with the sword being held backwards down here. It's not a good way for you to use the sword. You sacrifice your ability to defend above very, very clearly. You have not got any reach. It's not safe. But he's changed grip. Yay. Oh, and he's back. I like how he moves. I think he's got a good organic feel to him. Generally, the sword is being moved in front of him, which is a very, very good thing. It's very rarely just kept behind him. So he's closing the space off between him and his opponent with the sword. One of the things I like about some of the Witcher's fight scenes is that there's this idea of moving between the opponents. And you see this in things like Godino, where the idea of spinning, something which people really, really quite often frown upon within the HEMA community, is very much used because you're trying to keep opponents away from each other. So it's not just about fighting you and concentrating and moving into you, it's against driving you back and then hitting the next person, the next person, the next person. So these spinning moves actually become quite important, and this angled, sinister, straight into you idea goes out the window. It's not this focus. Suddenly it's much more wide and it's a flurry. The thing is most of my judgment on this fight scene is actually Henry Cavill being very, very good physically, and what is shown in this fight scene being probably the most disappointing fight scene in The Witcher. So for Henry Cavill it's going to have like an 8. For actual quality of fighting it's going to have about 4.